Our first question is from a listener named Nikolai, and he asks, what benefits are there for individual sports versus team sports?
Nikolai, great question. And tying it back into going into the new year, even if you are an individual athlete, you still need a team.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks a little bit different, right? So there's pros, there's cons to team versus individual athletes. I think with a team, the biggest lesson that you get, and this is coming from a football perspective, basketball perspective, even baseball, a little bit like a sacrifice bunt or something like that, that you're learning to give up your own glory to serve others on your team.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in football, I don't know if this is still legal in high school and through some of the upper levels, they got rid of it, but we used to do crack blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a wide receiver, you're out on the edge and you're basically running a slant, except for you have no intention on catching the ball. The quarterback has no intention on throwing the ball. It's usually like a halfback toss, like out to the side, and you're establishing the edge so the runner can get around the edge. So the corner thinks that you're running a slant, so they don't yell out to the linebacker that you're coming across, and you just blast the linebacker. And if you're a receiver and you get to blast the linebacker without them looking, it is a great feeling, but it hurts because they are a lot bigger than you. And I actually had one game where we called the crack block and I just demolished this linebacker. I'll never forget it. I just crushed him. It was phenomenal. And the next play, the coach actually called a slant across the middle on the same side of that field. Coach, I just crushed this guy without him knowing that I was coming at him, and now you're running me into him without me knowing where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he crushed me. I got back to the huddle.
Demolished.
Everyone in the huddle, they didn't say a word. The quarterback just looked at me. This was my junior year. And he goes, "You okay?" I had snot bubbles running down my face mask. I couldn't breathe because of how hard I got hit. And I was like, no, I'm not okay. But I'm not going to lay on the field and give him that glory that he just crushed me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the huddle and he's like, Coach, send someone else in. But in those moments you go, man, I'm going to do this to serve my team.
Mm-hmm.
And with individual sports, there's still sacrifice involved, but not to that level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in football, I love football. We have a friend that is starting to love football, and we explain the X's and O's to him because there's some plays that, why is that guy doing that?
Mm-hmm.
He's a decoy. Why is that guy doing that? Well, he's going that way because he's establishing an edge that for a play that they're eventually going to use.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he just gave 100% effort to be a decoy for something that they're going to use in the future. And to do that, you have to be disciplined. You have to say that my team's growth is better than my individual growth or glory, that I'm willing to give up this catch or me getting the ball so that someone else can get that and achieve. Mm-hmm. And isn't that what leadership is? Mm-hmm. Isn't that what it's all about, is helping other people to grow? Like, you're growing yourself to discipline. And we had the one episode that leaders eat last, and team sports really teach you that. Mm-hmm. The other thing with team sports is that you have other people pushing you, which makes it harder for you to not give your all, which could be a pro, could be a con. Mm-hmm. Because now we go to the individual athletes. Wow, what quality do they learn by needing to push themselves
right
over and over and over again?
The same thing.
Yeah, without having that stimulus of the next guy working next to them. They're thinking of the guy they're going to be racing, or the guy they're going to be swimming against, or the person they're competing against in gymnastics, and what's this person doing right now? I need to do more than them. But you don't have these people next to you that are necessarily doing that, which does make it more difficult. So I think as an individual athlete, you also need to be disciplined. You need to be disciplined in your work ethic to keep pushing and keep pushing. Same time we mentioned earlier, individual athletes never do it on their own.
Yeah.
They always have a coach, a team, someone that's helping them to get there. But I think they need to work harder for community within that sport, right? Because like, I know growing up I wrestled, and I wrestled till 9th grade, and then I was a little burnt out from it. And we had a great community of wrestlers, but there was reality that I had to go against some of my best friends for first and second place. Mm-hmm. So now this person that is your friend, you're now competing against. that doesn't really happen too much in team sports. Like you compete for a position,
Hmm.
but you're not competing for each other to stand on a podium.
Right.
So as much as like individual athletes have, like the wrestling team is there,
Hmm.
like you can still be going against that guy in a competition.
Hmm.
So the dynamic is a little bit harder. I think you, as an individual athlete, you have to fight harder for true community.
Hmm.
But also, we were watching this the other day, but I know one of my friends, him and I, we were in the same weight class, and he was a much better wrestler than I was. I could hang with him, but he he wrestled in college. He's phenomenal. And I remember the first time I wrestled him, I was almost like, all right, how are we gonna handle this? Like we throwing down, like we going at it like we do in practice. Like how do we want to go at this? And he came out and he put a deep double leg on me and slammed me onto the mat. And I was like, okay, like this is it. It's
Right.
game on. But now I look back, I'm like, wow, I'm so thankful for that.
Hmm.
Because what do true friends do? I'm not handing you this victory. If you want this, come and take it from me.
Hmm.
Get better. Get mad. Go back and practice harder so that one day you can try to beat me. Never beat him.
Yeah.
Took him down a few times, never beat him, but it pushed me to try to find the best potential or to reach the potential that he saw in me.
Hmm.
Because if he came at me soft, then I would start to question, well, am I a soft wrestler?
Mm.
But because he came at me so hard, I'm like, whoa, you respect me as a wrestler, so you're coming at me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think of CrossFit too, right? Like we typically work out here in our gym, in our
Yeah.
private garage where we have each other, and there are times where we compete against each other. And CrossFit has the opportunity for you to be both individual or team at certain competitions. But most of the time it's more of like an individualized sport. But you typically, if you're in a class, you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, if not more, depending on the size of the gym, people there
Mm-hmm.
that I know for us, when we drop in at places, it gives us a little bit extra competition
Yeah.
because instead of competing against ourselves or competing against each other, which is hard to say that we're competing against each other, instead you drop into a class and I look at a girl, I kind of size her up, or you do the same, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna push myself today. I'm gonna like compare to this person, and not in a bad way, but just to kind of like push a
Mm-hmm.
little more. And I think of the benefits of that, but I also think of, like you said at the beginning, like when we work out and do this sport by ourselves, it's creating a different sort of discipline versus going to the gym. But I don't I don't know, Nikolai, I don't think that you're suggesting this, but I don't think there's better, like individual sports are not better than team sports and vice versa. I think it's preference. I think it's season of life. I think it's resources. But at the end of the day, if you're a team sport or an individual sport, you need people around you supporting you. I recently saw, I think it was this past fall, there was somebody who I think it was from Kenya. Do you remember the person that completed the marathon in like
Oh,
2 hours?
yeah. The mile split time was like 4:16 for the
Yeah,
marathon. Like,
absolutely,
what?
absolutely insane. And you think marathon, okay, that's an individualized sport, right? But the first thing that this person did was, what I'm assuming, jump into the arms of their coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or a family member, but I'm assuming it was their coach. And I was just like, yes, like
Yeah.
that's what it's about. Not only like he didn't accomplish this great, unspeakable, like unheard of thing without the support of other people.
Yeah, and to that point, there's a lot of commonality between these two things. I think if you're a team sport athlete, you have to work harder on the individuality of
Mm.
that position, right? I was describing that example in football and sacrificing for one of your brothers on the field. But at the same time, as a athlete that wanted to improve, I had to work hard at my discipline of being a receiver.
Mm.
That a lineman wanted to do, but that wasn't their role, right? Their role is how quick can I accelerate out of my stance and create contact?
Mhm.
Or mine is how quick can I get to open space to give my quarterback a target? So we each have these individual things that we need to work upon.
Mhm.
So then as an individual athlete, you're working harder to establish a team. But I think the last thing I'd want to say in this discussion is that I think everyone should experience team athletics or team sports
Mhm.
or communities. I think everyone should have individual training.
Mhm.
because they're so different from each other. When you're in a community throwing down in a workout, you don't necessarily have the demons that come up in your brain.
Mm.
Because if they do, you look over and see, whoa, there's a 70-year-old over there doing kettlebell swings. What the heck am I complaining about?
Mhm.
And it motivates you to keep going, which is the beauty of having people. When you're on your own and you're in a garage and you write this workout and you get 25% of the way through it and you just get punched in the mouth, and you know that I could stop this workout right now and nobody would know. Nobody would ever find out about this. I could just wipe it off the whiteboard, not put it in the workout journal. My wife doesn't even need to know that I stopped this workout, but you'd be able to tell because I'd come in super disappointed and I'd be mad at myself
Mhm.
because we have a rule. If it's on the whiteboard, you have to complete it.
Mhm.
That you have to do it. So when you're working out individually, and not just for us CrossFit, but for other athletes, like you're working on wide receiver drills by yourself.
Mhm.
You're working on, shuffling in lacrosse by yourself. You're working on skating by yourself. You're working on running by yourself. I think that's when you really find out what you're made of.
Mhm.
That's when you really find out what is my strongest thought.
Mhm.
Because when it comes up, there's no one saying to you in that moment, you got this, keep going. It's you.
Mhm.
It's you versus you. So you have to take that thought and decide, what am I going to do with it? And we know when we drop into classes, you can be on the bike and a coach comes by and they go, all right, you got this. And you're like, I do got this. And you start pedaling a little bit
Yeah.
harder. When you're by yourself, you go, oh, I'm really tired.
I'm gonna die.
My legs are blowing up.
Yeah.
Why did I program this workout? Oh, I'm not strong enough for this workout. I don't have enough conditioning for this workout. I don't have enough resources to be doing this sport. I don't have enough resources to do a business. I don't have enough resources to be a good husband. You get in this crazy thought train
Mm.
that you then have to be responsible for of shutting down, which teaches you, which we talk in the book a lot about, is that ability to respond versus react.
Mhm.
And I think that is beneficial for everybody. It definitely takes steps to get there, but it is. I remember the first time I completely worked out on my own, no one else around, and it was so different. And I was just, I was in disbelief
Mhm.
of the thoughts
Yeah.
that came up during it.
Yeah. It builds character. I
Yeah,
both do, but I think individual sports, working out by yourself, it builds a certain type of character that I think is more needed in the world, you know.
right.